Well, hello everybody. This is Christine Bertram coming to you from the Cards by Christine studio here in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and I'm going to make a Harvest Blessings card with you today. We are going to be using products from the Country Lane suite, focusing on the Country Home stamp set, some of the galvanized metallic paper, and the Tin Tile Dynamic Textured Impressions embossing folder. This is one of the cards that is a bonus card for an online class that I'm offering, focusing on all of this product. You purchase all these pieces of Stampin' supplies from me, and you will get a PDF tutorial containing instructions and pictures of 6 cards and access to all the YouTube videos that will give you step-by-step instructions on how to make these cards. So this is the bonus one. This one will be on my blog later today, and I'm going to start working on this card with you now. The paper that we're using is Rich Razzleberry. The Rich Razzleberry card base is cut at 8.5 by 5.5, and all you're going to do is fold that piece of paper in half, and I line up my corners good, and then I will bring in my bone folder to give it a nice crisp edge. Okay, so now that we have that done, we're going to work on the piece of galvanized metallic paper. So this is 5 1/4 by 1.5 inches, and we're going to be using the Tin Tile embossing folder. Now, how I line this up on this card is I made sure that my squares were showing in here. You're more than welcome to put this anywhere you want in here, but just know it might look weird if you have it not centered correctly. So what I did is I tried to line up my squares so that this column was in between, and then I kind of centered the top and the bottom here. So we're going to get that lined up, and you want to be very careful as you shut this that it doesn't move around on you. Now this is one of the textured embossing folders, so it is a little bit thicker than the normal ones. And what I need to do is swap out my plates here and bring in my Big Shot platform. And because it is the textured one, it's a thicker embossing folder, so you only need one of the plates with this. So what we're going to do is just line this up in here. Just check it to make sure that it didn't move on us. And we're going to roll that through here using the Big Shot. Okay, we'll move this out of the way and bring this back. And now we have our embossed galvanized paper. Now that is going to go on the white base here. But before I put that on here, I want to go ahead and stamp the Harvest Blessings. That Harvest Blessings comes from the stamp set, and it actually says on here, Happy Harvest Blessings. Let me just bring in the stamp set so you can see what it looks like. We're going to be using that Happy Harvest Blessings, but we don't want the happy on there. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in some generic washi tape that I don't care if gets used and thrown out. We're going to cover up the word happy. Okay, this is called masking. When you don't want part of the stamp set or stamp to appear on the paper, you're going to mask it. So I pulled in my Memento ink, and I'm going to ink up the Harvest Blessings. Now the main thing that you have to remember to do is grab this washi tape off. It's happened to me a time or two where I haven't remembered to take that off, and then I end up having a big blotch on it. So that's going to be stamped down here towards the bottom. So the reason I'm stamping this before I'm adhering the other galvanized paper is just in case I make a mistake and I want to restamp it. So now that I've got my Harvest Blessings on here, I can go ahead and glue down the galvanized paper. My method of glue or adhesive is to use liquid glue, and so I'm just going to go around the edges on that. Close up my ink pad. Anybody who comes to my classes knows I'm a stickler with the ink pads. I always want to cover them up as soon as you're done using them. Okay, so we are just putting this piece down on top of here. Now the reason I like liquid glue is it gives a little bit of forgiveness. If you want to move it around on here, you can, whereas if you use that mono adhesive tape runner, it you can't slide it back and forth. Okay, so we're working on that. Now I have here, I do have some layering ovals that I'm using coupled with the stitched framelits. So the stitched framelits, what we're using here is the biggest oval, which I have set over here. And that's what we're going to use for the white piece. And then we also have the scallops. So those are what we're using for framelits. But before we go ahead and cut these pieces out, we need to stamp our watering can and flowers on this piece right here. You can see that the watering can is very low to the bottom edge here. So we don't have to worry about that quite yet until we cut it out. So I line this up on the Stamparatus. How many of you out there have a Stamparatus? Well, now's your opportunity to use this. This is an amazing tool. So I have these lined up, and all I need to do is put my white piece of paper on here, and it's going to kind of line up. So let's get this piece of red washi off of there. We're going to line this up down just a hair yet, somewhere like around here, because it kind of gets cut off the top there. So we got the watering can here. And I have this set up because I have a class coming up on Monday night, and this is what we're using on it. So what we're going to do is make sure we have the watering can going down. So we're going to ink that up with the Memento ink. The reason we're using Memento ink is because it is a water-based ink that we're using, because the blends that we're going to use to color it are alcohol-based. Okay, so we've got our watering can on here. Okay, so we need to grab out the flowers that we're using here, the ones with the cotton. So let's pull that out. And we're going to use this block over here. And we're going to line this up. Okay, this is actually really nice because it's photopolymer. You can see exactly where you're stamping your flowers. So I'm going to kind of have it over the edge just a hair. So we're going to go right about here. Just like that. Okay, so we're going to cover up our ink again. So now that we have our images stamped, what we can do is color them, and then we'll die cut them. So the coloring that I'm using, the colors here, let me just grab a piece of scratch paper so that I don't bleed through onto my surface. So with these blends, if you've used them before, as you color with them, they will start to show up on the back of your paper and sometimes seep into the paper underneath. So you want to be careful with that and always have something underneath. We are going to be using Smoky Slate for the watering can. And I always like to color with my dark marker first. And so I like to go along my edges, and where there's like this dark splotchy stuff, it's kind of shading to me. And with these blends, you want to be very delicate with them. They are alcohol based, so they do dry out if you leave the covers off too long. And you want to be very delicate with the tips, or like treat them really good so that they last a very long time. And with using alcohol markers, you're making more smaller circles. You're not coloring like traditional markers. So you just want to go in little circles like this. Now coloring with the light color over the top of the dark one, I'm going to go over that a couple times because that will help with the shading. What's great about these markers is you don't see lines after you're coloring them. Like you just go in circles like this and it washes away any sort of line that you have. Where with traditional markers, you'll sometimes get that streaky line look. Okay, so once you've got that all colored, I kind of go back over the top of it. Now you can see my original card has some lightness in the middle. I did that by using the color lifter. The color lifter is just what it does. It lifts up color. So I just went in some light circles right in the center here, just like that. So that lifted that color up. Now for the rest of this, I used a bronze for the, I don't know what they're called, these things in the middle. I used the crushed, what is this, Cajun Craze. I actually used the light one, the Cajun Craze, for these little berries or the little ball things. And then for the leaves, I used Old Olive. I did darker on the lines. So when you have a leaf like this, I did a little bit darker in the middle and along the edges. And then what you would do is follow back with the light side, and you go completely over the entire leaf and that will help blend that line so it doesn't look like there's so much darkness right in the middle. It kind of blends it. And then lastly, I have the blackberry color. So there is a dark blackberry bliss and a light blackberry bliss. So I generally just do the dark in the middle for a flower, and then I'll do over the entire thing with the light, and that will help blend the middle just to make it look like it's a little bit darker in the middle and lighter on the edges. So those are the colors that you're going to use, and you would go through and finish coloring. I cheated and actually colored one ahead of time. So I've got one ready to go for the card that we're working on today. So what we can do next though is we would die cut this out with our stitched shape framelit, and we can do that at the same time that we do our scallop here. So let me bring in my Big Shot, and we gotta flip out the plates again because this time we're die cutting. When we're die cutting, I use the magnetic platform, and you have space on this platform, so you might as well take advantage of it. Some people like to do one at a time, but you're more than welcome to do both of these at the same time. Now when you look at the stitch is right close to this edge, and then it cuts just like 2/16 or 1/8 of an inch away here. So you're going to nestle this so that the watering can is right at the base, and that's how we're going to cut it out. And we're going to line up our plates. It's so important that you have your plates lined up on each side, otherwise the Big Shot does have a tendency of eating the plastic, and we don't want that. Okay. So what's awesome about this is when you use the die cutting, these just pop right out. And same with this one, just pops right out. Throw our garbage off to the side. Move our Big Shot out of the way. Okay, so now we have these two pieces. And let's pretend that we've got the one that's all colored here, because I did that already. Now what you're going to do is use a little bit of your liquid glue or your tape runner, whatever you prefer, and you see how that colors through on the back. If you would be working on your surface, that could potentially bleed onto your surface, so you want to be careful with that. Alright, so now we have this adhered onto our scallop. Then I don't know if you can see it very well, but I did add some silver thread here. So to do the silver thread, I would put a little bit of this tear tape right in the back of this piece. Now, the better or harder you press this down, the easier it is to pick off the end. The silver thread comes on a spool like this, and there isn't, I don't know, a big trick to this, except for it can be a big hairy mess if you don't do it good. So I kind of hold it in my thumb and my pointer finger here, wrap it around maybe 4 or 5 times while I'm holding my pinky out to get some extra length, and then you cut it. Okay, let's get that out of the way. Then I kind of like twist it, and in this case I needed a little bit more distance on the side, so I brought it apart a little bit. But by having that tear tape ready, you can just stick this right down into it, and then that gives you the ability to like finesse it and work with it to get it to go where you kind of want it to. But from what I understand, this is supposed to look messy, and so to me it looks like a big hairy mess, but it adds a little bit of glitz to the card. So we've got that ready. Then I do have this popped up with some dimensionals, and I'm just opening my pack of dimensionals here for the first time. My trick with the dimensionals is let's get that thread out of the way. I cut this off, and get that out of the way, and then I flip this upside down and put them back in. That gives me easy access to my dimensionals and helps me store them so you don't have to constantly push them in and out. So I would put these dimensionals on the back side of this piece, and these have little paper backings on them, so you just got to pick that off. Alright, so one more there. Now that's almost ready. So what we need to do here is put a little bit of liquid glue. Oh, haha, look at that. I'm conserving paper. I didn't use it for what I was going to do, and now we used it for this one. Nice. So we're just going to put this down on your card front. So that's set. Then we're going to go ahead and put this layer on the front. We're almost done with this. You can see we've got some pretty rhinestones left, and we've got the word hello. So when it comes to the rhinestones, I used a medium one, and I used, some small ones. And you're going to use your Stampin' Blend to color them. So this is alcohol base, so this will color over the top of your rhinestones and leave the color right on them. So all of these colors can be used to make accenting rhinestones in matching colors. So I've got the new handy dandy pick tool here. So there is a pointy end on this side. This snaps out, and you've got like a spatula tool on that side. So I'm going to grab one of, oh, look at that, just stuck to my finger instead. So the pointy tool like that, and pick up this one and put that over here. This is kind of like floral arrangements. When you're putting embellishments on cards, the odd number works great. I wouldn't do 2s or 4s. I would do 3s or 5s or 1s. Okay, so I've got this little scrap here, and what we need to do is stamp the word hello and also use this little oval. So cute. This hello fits in here, the enjoy fits in here, and thanks fits in here. So if you don't want a hello card, by all means, make it something you would prefer. And you're going to laugh because I don't have a small little block here. I would have to run into the other room to grab it. So we're just going to work with a big block. I don't recommend that because you could potentially get ink all over. So I'm not going to do that though. What we're going to do is just stamp that right there and swap this with the hello. And because it's photopolymer, it's super simple to see in the oval to get that lined up good. So we're going to just do hello. There you are. Okay. And now you're going to be sad because there aren't framelits to match this set. It actually is fussy cut out. So I have my scissors here, and you're going, if you don't, the only way to really use this is to fussy cut this out. You could go ahead and just stamp it right on the watering can, but I like to pop things up. So we're going to cut this out and then use dimensionals to pop it up. So we'll grab some of these guys over here. I would use 2 of them because they're the small ones. Okay. Pick off your paper on the back, and we're just going to line that up right on our watering can. Make sure it's straight. That's always important. Okay. Voila! We've got the card front done. So on the inside, let's see if I've got an inside here. Yes, here it is. I've got simply thankful for all the good things. So your card mat for the inside and the outside were the same. It's basically 4 inches by 5 1/4. It's your traditional mat. And there is a saying in the stamp set that says simply thankful for all the good things. And you can just add that to your block and then use your memento ink. Now, you'll stamp that. Here's my trick. If you don't like to write a lot of words on your cards and just sign your name, stamp it down further. But if you like to write a little sentiment to people down in this area, you're more than welcome to put it up higher. And if you stamp it crooked, all you have to do is flip it over and try again. So I thought that looked a little bit crooked, and that's probably about the same. It's really hard to see from this angle, but we're going to use that side actually. So the other thing, if you notice here, is I added this little bit of foliage to the card. So when you're stamping, you could go ahead and just stamp this at the same time that you're stamping this, and then you're just going to color it in at the same time you're coloring that. If you like to match your envelopes with something on the card, go ahead and stamp this on your envelope too and color it in. So that's this card. I love purple, so this one is very aesthetically pleasing to my eye. I love silver. So we've got the rich raspberry and silver going on. And again, this is a bonus card that you get with my online bundle. I have 6 other fabulous cards that I made using all products from this suite. And it includes the tin tile folder. There's galvanized clips here. There's the braided linen trim. There's the galvanized metallic paper. There's the designer series paper. and again, the Country Home stamp set. So if you buy this entire bundle from me, I will email you an exclusive online class PDF file that contains all the instructions, pictures, and access to my YouTube videos that will walk you through how to make the 6 cards. And you will get that for free. If you aren't interested in this bundle but you want the PDF file, I have it for $20, and that is available to you anywhere in the world. So I really enjoyed stamping this card with you. I hope you enjoyed our time, and I look forward to stamping with you again. Thank you.